this problem, we're asked to find the average rate of change of f of x equal to cosine of x on the interval a and a plus h. So first of all, let's set it up. That average rate is going to be cosine evaluated at the endpoint minus cosine evaluated at the beginning point divided by the endpoints minus the beginning point. So it's cosine of a plus h minus cosine of a over h is one of the answers. That's a. So a is not the answer that we want to give because this is asking for does not represent. The next thing is that I try to use the sum formula, sum identity. Cosine of a plus b is equal to cosine of a times cosine of b minus sine of a sine of b. Here, instead of b, I have an h. And so when I'm replacing this, basically, by that, I get cosine of a cosine of h minus sine of a sine of h minus cosine of a over h. And this turns out to be c, and so c is not an answer neither. The last thing is that I notice that cosine of a is appearing in these two terms, so I'm putting it together. Cosine of a cosine of h minus cosine of a divided by h minus sine of a sine of h divided by h. That looks very familiar to that one. Factor cosine of a out. You end up with and sine of a in here, sine of h over h. So something that you notice, this is b, by the way, so the answer is going to be d. I want to mention two things. One of them is that for exponential and trig functions and natural log, the expectation that h from the top and bottom simplify with methods of pre-calculus is not possible. Basically, the h in the top doesn't show up unless it's polynomial or rational functions with methods of pre-calculus. But remember that what they are trying to do is to put every h under a function that is actually, if h gets near 0, this function also goes to 0. And so basically that's the purpose of it. And that in Calculus 1, we can figure out ways to simplify that h all the way through. And over here again, as h goes to 0, this function goes to 0. That was the first thing I wanted to say. So the last thing that I want to say is that how do I make sure this is not also equal to that value? And so I'm going to use another formula. Let's say cosine of x minus cosine of y is equal to -2 cosine of x plus y divided by 2 sine of x minus y divided by 2. Now, notice that the top part of when we started putting the equations down, that part is cosine of an angle minus cosine of another angle. But also notice in here, the first angle is a plus h, the second one is a. So now I can rewrite this as cosine of a plus h minus cosine of a is equal to -2 times cosine of the sum, which is 2a plus h. X plus y is 2a plus h divided by 2, and sine of x minus y, which is a plus h minus a, is just h divided by 2. And comparing to here, this is missing a negative sign. Therefore, this was not the answer.